We're here, I promise. I usually take that down. What's up, everybody? Sorry for the technical difficulty there. Welcome to the fifth installment of the Haunted October podcast special I'm putting on. As always, or as recently added, I have the coffee sponsor. Tonight's coffee that I may or may not have already drank is sponsored by Friggin' Coffee. And here is how to get in touch with them at friggincoffee.com store. It's really good stuff. You got to really pour the beans to it, but it has got a great flavor, really strong. They're up and coming company. I think they've sold 5 pouches so far. It's from my show, not just total. They're not that new. But enough about my sponsor. This is good coffee, though. I do recommend it. It's really good stuff. Tonight's guest I was really lucky to get. I wasn't really sure how lucky I was till I read the bio. This is Heather Leigh, Renaissance woman for the paranormal. Before we get to her bio, I usually don't write a long bio for someone, but this is worth it's like a good landscape shot. Just check out bobbydizzle.com and subscribe and share from there. Thanks everybody for watching. But Heather Leigh is a paranormal Renaissance woman. She's researched the paranormal, written books on it, and even spoken on it several occasions. You got a doctorate. We got to talk about this doctorate, by the way, in philosophy and metaphysical humanistic science, where she specialized in paranormal science. Her paranormal team has been featured on several shows and publications, including Ghost Adventures, Lake of Death. Currently, she is hosting Exploring the Paranormal on WLTK Radio and co-host of Ghost Education on YouTube. You can find her website, explorationparanormal.com, and Heather Leigh, PhD, in the description. It's all there. So let's get to the fun part. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but then I read your bio and I'm like, I know what we're going to talk about. It's just one of those things that slips up on you. It's Sunday already. Like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about? And then I saw you met your grandfather several times. I got to hear that story because that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was interesting. It started, my grandfather died. I was 5. And we were outside. He was shoveling snow. I was playing in the snow like all 5-year-olds do, having fun, enjoying time with my grandfather. It was like we were 2 peas in a pod. We just loved being with each other. And he had a heart attack, and he just went stiff as a board, fell face first into the snow. And even though they got me out of there, I still remember that event like it was yesterday. And I was 17. When he started coming around again, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. He was showing up at the foot of my bed. He would be in the bathroom mirror. I would see him walking down the hallway, and it was strange because it was a new house. We hadn't, it wasn't new. But he had never been there. We bought it many years after he had passed, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I, dove down that rabbit hole, went to the library, got every book possible about why am I seeing ghosts? Because back then in the 80s, the theory was someone had to die in a location to haunt it before we, knew all the stuff that we know today. And so that just kind of kept me going. And ever since then, I've just been researching. I did a lot. It's mostly behind the scenes work and the research. I didn't really dive into the physical investigations as far as working with the team until about 5 years ago. But I've met so many great people doing it, and they've helped me figure out why I've met him. And that just, like I said, that just kicked off my experience in the paranormal.
Yeah, that's a heck of a jump start. I didn't realize the whole thing about any place can be haunted at any time by anything until about 4 years ago.
Right.
And I was like, man, that really, because you hear people that experience these things and they see ghosts just walking down the street, popping in and out.
Yep. Yeah. I know when we lived in Vegas, the theory out there from all the different people that I worked with was for every 10, well, not, there's a certain number, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but for every so many people you meet in Vegas, one of them is a spirit, because there are so many spirits just walking the Vegas Strip.
Okay.
I wish I could remember the number off the top of my head.
That's insane. That's almost like the murder statistic. You meet one murder in your life. Past one murder every 30 days or something. So what did they determine was why you were seeing the ghost of your grandpa?
We were really close, and we truly do believe, I mean, even my mom started doing some research with me, because my grandmother had these Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls that we had in our house up until I graduated high school, because I had seen him for several years in that house, and all of a sudden the sightings of him just stopped. And I didn't find out until 4-ish years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney failure. And my mom got the dolls back from my cousin and sent them to me because she knew they meant a lot to me. And the minute I got those dolls back, my grandfather started coming around again. So I think he's attached to those dolls. And he started coming around again. I woke up in the middle of the night. He was standing at the side of my bed. He told me it wasn't my time yet. And next thing I know, my kidney disease reversed itself on its own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't need a transplant. I didn't need any surgery. And my kidneys are 100% healthy.
And then is that still happening this day? Or is it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I still see him now and then. And it's, yeah.
I'm not trying to be insensitive, but have you ever tried taking him somewhere else to see if he's there as well? Like take him like on a 1,000-mile road trip, like he's in our tent?
Well, it started in Vegas, and that's when he told me it wasn't my time. And then 2 years ago, we made the cross-country trip to move back to Florida. And he still makes his appearance here in Florida now.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Theory proven.
Yep.
That's interesting how you found that out, how it went away, and all of a sudden you get your Annabelle dolls back. And there they are.
Yep. Yeah. And my son will walk by and he's like, they're creepy looking, but I have them proudly on display on a shelf in the living room.
You ever catch him like making commentary like on social stuff?
No.
See, I think that I heard my grandmother one time after she died when my little one was still in diapers that she never met. And I thought I was like laying, like kind of dozing off on our big bed in the back. And I think I heard my grandma say hi to the baby. Hi. I'm like,
aw.
I didn't really wake up. I didn't really like jump up or anything like that, because like I kind of like heard it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't want to roll over. I don't want to roll over and see her, no matter how bad. No matter
the
how
work we do, I mean, anything makes sense like that.
Yeah. And there was like a big before she passed away, they lost their farm. It wasn't a big piece of land, but it was like 20 acres. And it's like my favorite place to hunt on and run around on. And so I almost mourned that place as much. I'd say I mourned them alongside. Like it felt like she was like that was like a total package in my mind, that her and the farm, my grandparents, and haven't even really hunted since that happened. And then she came to me like a dream one night and said, stop worrying about the damn land. I stopped. I just haven't cared. I haven't been by it since, but ever since then, I used to dream about it every night. I mean, and then she's like, stop damn worrying about the land. It's stupid. She goes, you're bigger than that. And is that the only relative you had come to you, or has it just been
my uncle came with him with my grandfather once, and my uncle I was real close to as well. He was my godfather, but he didn't say anything. He was just kind of off in the distance. But other than that, I haven't seen any other relatives. Making a road trip.
Well, tell me about this doctorate you got from the doctorate in Metaphysical. Like, is that like a degree? Not to say it's not. Was that like a doctorate?
Yeah. Well, I'll explain it. I get this question all the time.
Yeah. I'm very interested when people have certs like this. I'm like, how does that work? I want that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's through the Institute of Metaphysical and Humanistic Studies. and it's based out here in Florida. But it's 100% online. Dr. Kelly has worked with Thomas Francis University to make this program available to everybody, and you can choose 100 different. I mean, it was originally founded to help people with their theological degrees. So it offers the theological degrees for priests, pastors, people who want to do religious counseling and all of that. And then because he had an interest in the paranormal, he kind of added the paranormal to it. And it was a lot. I mean, it was hard. I thought it was going to be easy because it's just a 2-year program versus your typical 4-year PhD program. But it is a theological degree. So, and it is accredited by the American Association of Psychics as well as Thomas Francis University. And even though it's not your typical collegiate 4-year degree, it is still considered a PhD, and he puts you through the ringer. You have to, you still have to do your thesis at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to ask that.
You have to do, all the different paper, testing. And he goes into the path that I took with the paranormal science. We studied everything from the Heisenberg principle, thermodynamics, Einstein. I mean, we went into the science behind the paranormal.
Oh man, I bet that kind of laces it all together.
It does.
When you know the actual science of that kind of stuff, because it makes it almost possible. Or you see how it's possible, why it's possible. Because no one ever wants to, because the first thing everybody talks about is a simulation and parallel universes. But then you start talking about ghosts. Oh, there's no such thing as ghosts. Dude, you just said simulation and parallel universe 5 seconds ago.
Or you have the flip side where people who are in the field, because I truly do think paranormal is a science. But I am constantly, the Facebook people out there, or computer warriors, I guess you would call them.
Keyboard warriors.
Right. They're constantly bashing anything I post about, the paranormal is not science. Why are you getting educated for this? You don't need to be educated. You should just be able to grab your digital voice recorder and go out there. And it's like, even though you don't need the PhD, you at least need to know how that digital voice recorder works before you can go out there. And it's an uphill battle, but I truly do believe that this is a true science. And we just need to implement it a little bit differently than true science is, just because, ghosts don't act on command.
Yeah, I always lean back toward that saying that any technology far enough advanced is indistinguishable from magic. And I think that's a lot of what the paranormal and your aliens and your cryptids are to a certain extent. Some cryptids are just local legends, but I think there's a lot to that phrase right there. And people study everything now like it's an animal basically, or in the physical world, and it doesn't apply to that stuff. And no matter how bad it hurts, and it hurts your little ego, it just it doesn't apply.
It's just a matter of tweaking it so it works for it, and that. But if you think back to it, that's what they did, back before sciences became a big thing. Before there were doctors. Who took care of the medical? You had your apothecary in the town. You had your local witch, your medicine man, or even your pastor was your doctor at times. And, it took people who were studying true science behind medicine to say, hey, this needs, this is how it should be done. And this is how this part of the field should work.
Yeah, I think that I definitely don't distrust modern medicine. There's been a little bit of reason to distrust some of it in the last few years. I won't go into that, but I think the technology for medicine's good, but some of the things, like, you gotta they really close their mind and go one track toward the funding. That's the problem.
Yep. Yeah.
And same way with the any kind of Bigfoot research. Nobody researches Bigfoot like it's a ghost. They research it like it's an animal.
Yeah.
And
you can say the same thing about the paranormal field is, people are, like, they're in it for the money. They're not in it for, the actual research.
Yeah, they want to hear a sound. That's what they want to play. It said, "Get out." And I got it on record.
Yep, I know. They're in it for the YouTube and the Facebook likes and shares. And I always joke, it's like, I do what I do because I love it. And, I don't go out and promote my YouTube channel like I should. And I think I have 12 people who follow me. but I still do what I do.
Hey, so did Jesus, Yeah.
Yep.
Seems to be a good number to have. Yeah, I try not to. I'm trying to make it a career, but I'm not trying to
Mhm.
do it. I'm trying to scope out why the reason is
Mhm.
that I'm doing it, and I don't want to do it just for the money. Kind of want to
Right.
chase after the dream, and
Mhm.
let the money, what do they say? The paper will come.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
I'm some kind of rapper.
Yep.
Chase that
Yeah.
paper.
And that's why I tell everybody. I mean, you do it because you love it, and the TV shows, the documentaries, the books, they'll all come if you're
Hmm.
good at what you do.
Yeah, and try not to be fake. That
Mhm.
weird and posting all the fake evidence, man. I think if we just quit saying let's not judge, we don't know, and just start judging and knowing to some of
Mhm.
these people, like just slapping their little hand, like that's not a ghost. That's not a
Right.
Sasquatch. You didn't see anything in the sky. There's satellites.
Mhm.
It's okay for that to
Yeah.
be the space station.
Yep. Or for people not to be so hurt when you tell them, hey, look, that's a bug on your lens.
Yeah, it's a bug, and it's an outdoor camera, and that's a spider web.
Mhm.
And I got into this trying to just hear stories. I just wanted to hear
Mhm.
like different anecdotal stories, and didn't really care what was real and what wasn't.
Right.
Maybe hear some commonalities and piece them together a little bit, and that happened. That happened quick.
Mhm.
But now I really want to have like an experience.
Mhm.
I want to base more so in the Bigfoot world, because I grew up kind of in the woods and
Okay.
deer hunted all the time, and so I want to hear. Got that. I want to hear. I want to hear the sounds people tell me is a Bigfoot, and let me hear them for myself. Because
Mhm.
I'll know, unless they've invented a new animal in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I want to hear like that was a howl. That's clearly not a Bigfoot, man.
Right. Yeah. And that all
And
comes with practice.
mhm. I don't want to be the guy that goes out there the first time and sees one, and then nobody's going to believe me.
Mhm.
If I go Bigfoot with some people that say they live on a place with Bigfoot, and I see a full body, Holy Grail appearance, not one person will believe me in the world. Everybody's like, "You lying son of a bitch." They'll think I'm hoaxing. They'll think I'm hoaxing. Oh no, did she freeze up? Very, very stoic.
Oh,
There
am
you
I
go.
am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. I thought you got really
Okay.
offended by my last comment.
Okay.
Stop moving.
Oh, no. You actually, your side of the screen actually froze, and I'm like, oh no, he froze.
Yeah, it happens. I was like, man, she really stopped talking with that one
Mhm.
comment.
No, not at all.
So really struck a nerve. It happens all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, that comment there, barn owls don't typically throw rocks. See, the first time I met somebody that said they live with Bigfoot, they sent me a tape of an owl, and I'm like, that's an
Mhm.
owl, and then a rock hit the side of a barn, which they could have thrown it, but at the same time, the noises didn't stop. So I'm like, oh, that may be some validity
Right.
to it. So I learned right then not to discount it, even if maybe it merited a discounting.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you send me a picture of a field and circle 4 or 5 places that aren't big feet and tell me there's big feet there, I'm not gonna
It's
buy
the
it.
circling that gets me. It's like, just
Mhm.
send me the photo. If it's there, I'll find it.
Yeah, you should have to circle a Bigfoot to see it, because if you don't see it in the picture, it's not there.
Right.
That's not how hidden seeing apes. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Start talking about Bigfoot, and the guest freezes every time.
Hmm.
Bigfoot, release her video, make her unfrozen. It looks like you're accused of something bad on the nightly news right now. Last scene with the toddler, right there in the middle of the red circle. Where the red circle is. Then they'll
Hmm.
little dot. They'll dot the little eyes.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
And what cracks me up is because I did a lot. I photograph. Before I did the PhD program, I was a photography student,
Mm-hmm.
and it's if you put a circle on it, you're adjusting the pixels, which destroys the authenticity of the photo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no one can examine it anymore to determine if you faked it or not. So I mean, my theory, I know there's people who really do circle it and don't do anything to the photo, but I think people put the circle around it to hide the fact that they've altered it.
Also, yeah. Also, there's That's a good point. I never thought about that because the photo does make it altered by way of like innocently altered.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm gonna think about that one. But also the algorithms of our phones now look for faces. That's what they do.
Right.
They're scanning.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wouldn't if two blades of grass had a piece of it's gonna kind of form it in the background anyway.
Right.
What did Duff say? It's part of the Bigfoot cover up, the double agents that play stupid, pretend to post evidence. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Come and flood our stuff. It's Russian propaganda. Did you see we asked the Bigfoot to unfreeze you and you unfroze? Look, we know you're real. All right. Just give us a picture. I swear the government won't hunt you down with lights and stuff. They never do that.
No, they won't.
So you had the. We'll get back to you. I don't know how.
Oh no, that's fine.
I don't know how I steered the ship toward Bigfoot again. We started talking about the. We started talking about the science of stuff and getting me mad about how nobody ever wants to dive into the woo part.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could at least experiment. You know, I thought get Bigfoot hooked on marijuana.
Ooh.
And pizza.
Yeah.
And you know, once he starts becoming like maybe just like gummy and like not necessarily to capture one, but just to get a decent picture. And he's just kind of fuzzy, kind of blurry, glitching out like on Wreck-It Ralph. And then he's coming for that pizza, and he don't know whether he doesn't know where he's in this zone or not. And you get a picture, and that's good. Then you stop, and you don't want him to get fired from his job or anything, but just a good picture is what I want. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know. I interviewed Todd Neese on my show about a year ago, and they've done lots of times where they've actually had evidence that Bigfoot was there, but their cameras all glitched at that time that he was there, or where they estimated him there, and they have no video proof of it whatsoever.
Cocaine bear. Yeah, that happens all the time, like almost 100%.
Yep.
I don't know why it almost happens. I say almost. It does happen enough times to merit some kind of scientific exploration of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he either gives off some type of energy that kills the camera equipment, or he's smarter than we think.
Both, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's on here yet, but Roger Williams and he's got a good Bigfoot story. He just lives up the road, kind of just above where Sin does. And he's had a theory just out of the blue that what if they flock to areas that don't have cell phone signal? Because the place he saw no cell signal, all the places, my friend, the She Squatchers even commented on it. The place in Minnesota that I kind of just lay claim to just by knowing the guy that owns the place. It's kind of like where my fascination really took root. That's where the story of that place really is where I started believing it. Maybe it could be real. And he doesn't have any cell phone service on his place either. Whole 40 acres, no cell service. Eat up with him.
Huh. And
somebody said his place was like Skinwalker Ranch.
And that makes sense because here in the Everglades, once you get to where there's no cell service, that's where people start seeing the skunk ape.
Yep. Oh, Marie Dumont. That's where she's out.
Yep.
Her and her pictures of those scary cottonmouths. She weighs 100 pounds soaking wet, but she get close to a cottonmouth.
Oh no, I'd be running the other direction.
Said Bigfoot snapped my friend's weed plants. Well, Bigfoot is a government agent. I'm going to leave Bigfoot some apple juice tonight and see if he drinks it.
I hear he likes peanut butter, and I'm being serious on that aspect.
That's the guy in Minnesota has 400 cans of that, and they'll put the lids in colored piles, yellow, red, and blue.
Yep.
I don't think the peanut butter industry realizes how much they're propped up by the Bigfoot research groups.
I know.
It's insane. It's the first Bigfoot, apples and peanut butter. That's all they ever eat. We tried to. He put out a Rubik's Cube and asked him to solve it, but all they did was move it around. So I wondered if they were some kind of.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, but he did. He put a whiteboard out and said, "Hi, my name is Randy. please spell your name. But they didn't do anything. I think they touched and like marked a line through it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you go up to a whiteboard and just rub through it with your finger. And he said, can you do something with the caps to these markers? And the next day he goes out there and the caps are off the markers and they're placed in a cross about 2 foot from the board. So that's kind of cool.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They didn't write anything. Apparently they can't write.
Mm-hmm.
Giving lollipops the stick for DNA. They actually leave the stick. I feel like they would take the stick. They don't really like to leave DNA.
They probably would eat the stick.
Yeah. I've heard of them trying beer and putting the beer back in the cooler. I've heard it. That's what it was. They took the beer out of the cooler and found it a week later on a deer stand.
Okay.
And they said it was not good. Expect me to watch a video? What else? We tried to do a thing because he doesn't want to trick it. He doesn't want to be like seen as a trickster to those guys, not trying to fool them to get them to do things.
Right.
So he's trying to get them to trust him. And so we talk about it like ways that we could work with them to get some stuff. Like, hey, can you do this? And you get a reward. It was a box with tape around the end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever heard of a coon trap with the 3 nails going down and they stick their hand in and get their hand caught.
Right.
It was like that with like an apple or peanut butter inside, and the tape got the hair off their arm. And he's like, I don't know. He goes, I feel like I'm tricking him because he's just real big on not tricking him. You got 5 sticks? I didn't know this would be a Duffy party. Must be. Yeah.
I'd be saying I'd be going to my nearest university to get those tested.
Well, from what I've heard, they just come back unknown and human.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the biggest tell-all I've ever heard, but no one wants to talk about that.
Yep. They know, they just can't release it.
That is the most frustrating thing ever. I don't know if you deal with government stuff or not, or had it been followed or anything in your expeditions. I don't know if you're into that kind of.
Yeah, not yet, but we have some things that might open some doors in the future for that happening.
Yeah. I hear if you get too close, you get followed by random stuff, not just telltale black SUVs, like random people in cars just following you around and taking pictures. That's how you know you made it.
Right.
That's what I want. I want Mel Gibson from Conspiracy Theory following me around. What did you get into out there in the Nevada? I saw one of that was the Nevada ghost town.
Right. It was motion picture video reached out to us because my paranormal team is actually my husband, my son, and myself. And they wanted a family of paranormal investigators to feature in the documentary. So they took us out to all the different ghost towns, which I had already been to anyway, investigating with the team that I was on prior. And basically we hit Goldfield, which is a hotbed of paranormal activity from the hotel to the cemetery. We investigated an abandoned mine that was out there in Nelson, which was where a mini civil war took place because everybody who was leaving the Civil War and deserting it, both Northern and Southerners were there. So they kind of had their own civil war there. And we investigated, again, a mine that was there and the different town. And oh my goodness, the place is just filled. Nevada, I haven't done much since I've gotten back to Florida, but so far Nevada has been one of the most active places I've ever investigated at. I
bet. That's got all 3 are most of American history all happened out there at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and you have the ghost of Virgil and Wyatt Earp haunt Goldfield.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you have everything that's out there. It was amazing.
Was there a lot of Native American stuff there too that you ran into?
There was. Not so much that we captured evidence, but just you could feel it. And we did do one investigation. It was in Goldfield, and it sounded almost like Native American drumming happening off in the distance, but nothing was captured. And, knowing where we were at, that drumming would have had to have been far, far away if they were doing it because there was like no civilization for quite some distance.
Yeah, it's relatively flat too.
Yeah.
You haven't even been able to see a drum line coming down the
Right. Yeah. Once
down
you
the
get
tumbleweeds.
northern part, I mean, there's some areas like the Vegas area is surrounded. That's why they call it the Vegas Valley, because it's actually surrounded by a ridge of mountains. So you have that area, but we were way north of that. But then Potosi Mountain is the only other major significant mountain in the southern Nevada area. But other than that, it was pretty much flatland wherever you went, and sound traveled, but I still think they would have had to have been really loud, and there was nothing in the area that would have happening that would have caused that.
You can about and was it one of the things where this comes from every direction? You didn't.
No, it was directional, because I remember we were looking
toward it.
Yeah, we were looking at the Hoist House because we were investigating the mine, and it was kind of off to, say, that would be to the southeast from where we're at.
Okay. So. I was thinking, like, usually I hear when it's high school football season, you can tell like how close you are. You can almost hear the sticks hitting the metal part the closer you get.
Yeah. No, we get that because we have the Tigers have their spring break here where we live, and whenever they have a night game, you can hear it.
There's no mistaking what that is either. It's not like somebody driving by with a radio. Right. Exactly. Do you think that out there in that Nevada, that area with Las Vegas, that there's some kind of you said it's really active. I wonder if it's like amplified by the old nuke testing.
Those are some theories that we're still working on, because the one person I used to investigate before I started my own team, we still work together on a few projects. And you have, of course, the Nevada Triangle, which is where a lot of planes, and of course, Area 51 is smack dab in the center of that.
My next question.
Yeah. So you have all of that stuff happening. And then some of the research that I've been working on, and I've been talking with some scientists in the UK, it's called the Superman theory. And it's basically areas that have high concentration of quartz crystal. The quartz actually records, almost like the stone tape theory, actually records the data and releases it over time. And that area is very high in quartz in the soil. So we think that, and we're kind of doing mapping it right now. So we think that has something to do with the high levels of paranormal activity in that particular area.
That's one of the things with the Appalachians too, with the limestone. That's because I grew up in the foothills or in the Appalachians, and everything's limestone there. Our whole county is just limestone, and you say that's part of the deal.
The more research we've done is the areas that have high concentrations of quartz crystal in the earth, the Alaska Triangle, Bermuda Triangle. There's one up in the Connecticut area. There's a triangle up there. So all these triangles that have paranormal activity actually have the highest concentrations of quartz in the earth.
Yeah, the Massachusetts one.
Yep.
It's called I had no idea about the Massachusetts one. That one's fascinating. I've had so many people talking about that.
Well,
I didn't know the area was big enough.
Right. It was funny too, because with the Nevada Triangle, the other investigator that I worked with, we were actually called to investigate. We were the only team to come into this particular mine because A&E Discovery, that whole network, had called us in to do a pilot. And while we were there, they had us on camera after we investigated, doing the single shots, and they're like, what are your thoughts on the Nevada Triangle fueling the paranormal activity here? And we're both like, what? So then when we got off screen, we're on our phones quickly researching the Nevada Triangle. And that was just before COVID hit. And so it was, but I learned, and that kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, just that one question. And, bummed that series didn't take off because COVID caused it to be shelved. But it's amazing what you learn.
Just you couldn't go back?
Asking questions.
Have you been back since?
To that particular mine? No, I haven't. Yeah. The guy, part of the mine is starting to collapse.
Oh.
So he's not, of course they let us, we were the first team in, and then it turns out that we're going to be the only team that got in just because the mine's collapsing and he's not allowing people to go into it. But we actually went down into the mining shafts and the different tunnels that were on the property during the investigation.
I bet that's, the mine shafts have to have a feeling to them. Haunted or
They were
haunted or
creepy.
not. Haunted or not.
Especially
just-
when you have to crawl in part of it on your hands and knees, and I'm claustrophobic.
I can't do that. I could never be a caver.
Mhm.
Even though it's
But-
just
but the-
adjacent to everything else I like doing. I couldn't do it.
Right. But the best part about it is you're so far underground. I usually don't use a spirit box, but underground, it worked perfect.
Did it work? You get some stuff on it?
It worked. It was amazing. It just because you didn't have any radio interference.
Yeah,
So
I was
it
going to
just
say it's either
all white
pure.
noise.
That's pure data there.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff talking in complete sentences.
Mm.
Hand me my
We s-
sandwich.
Yeah, we still didn't get complete sentences, but we did get some stuff. But yeah, and we knew it wasn't radio stations because we were too far down. Nothing was getting picked up where we were at.
Now I want to get a spirit box and try that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or go to Goldfield with the spirit box because there's no radio signals for miles. And it worked. It was
Goldfield?
all white noise out there too.
Oh man, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess nothing's reaching that.
Yeah, no.
Not
So,
Not
but
even
Gold
AM
Point
stations.
has everything. You have everything from ghost sightings to alien UFO sightings at Gold Point, and it's also the darkest spot in Nevada because there's not as many street lights as there are in other parts of Nevada. So if you want to go sky watching, that's the place to go.
Gold Point, Nevada.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Try that out. I always wanted to go down the paranormal highway anyway,
Mhm.
or extraterrestrial highway anyway.
Yep.
Even though I don't think there's, I'm probably the only person enthusiastic about that subject that really doesn't think Area 51's got aliens.
Not anymore.
I hope they do.
Yeah, they've moved them elsewhere because they still don't let you near it, but they've moved them elsewhere from what I've heard.
I heard they put them in Wright-Patterson like right after it happened anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Took them to Ohio.
Yeah,
Blend in fine there.
There was one museum I used to investigate, and I actually volunteered there on the weekends in Nevada, and they actually had a train car from Area 51 that was donated to them from the government. And when we investigated, we could see at night like little boys' feet running around the bottom of, underneath the train. And then when you go around, there's nobody there. EMF detectors would go crazy. But then the minute you move them past where the train was to like the next train car, they'd flatline and there'd be nothing. So the activity just all around that particular train car. And then a friend of mine, she did a remote reading of it. And she thinks the little boy thought the train was an escape because he was being experimented on at Area 51.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just see his little feet under it running around.
Oh, yep. It was, I thought it was, cute because it was like this little boy's trying to communicate with us, but he just doesn't know how.
Do you think he's like an alien little boy or just like a human little boy?
He was a human little boy. At least that's what the psychic was picking up on her remote reading.
Well, that's
so,
kind
but
of sad.
it fit with what we saw.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you did remote viewing yourself.
No, yeah. I've tried, but I haven't mastered it yet enough to trust it. So, I'm more into the research. So I'll dive deep in the research before doing an investigation, which is something you shouldn't do if you're going in to use your psychic abilities. So I've taken that path, and I let the other psychics do the work for me.
Yeah, and you can't mix them both because if you come in there with any kind of knowledge, it ruins the remote. And if you come in there trying to remote, you can't get any knowledge on it because you don't know if it's real or not. Right.
And I like and I tell people all the time, because a lot of people tell me, no, you should never research, even if you're not psychic. And it's like, well, I have an example. We were investigating a different museum in Vegas, and the property used to be a former FLDS settlement. And someone was asking the question, who's the president of the United States? And we were doing EVP purse sessions, and we got an answer, Jeff's. And the other girl was like, well, that's not correct. They don't know what they're talking about. So they went to ask, who's the president? And they got the Jeffs again. And she's like, no. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've done all this research. I'm like, wait a minute. No. I go, if they were FLDS, granted, this was built before Warren took over, but his dad, Rulon, was in charge of the FLDS at the time. And
that's the Indians, isn't it?
The Rulon Jeffs? No,
No,
the
the
Mormons.
FLDS is
The Mormons.
Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking the Indian redistribution of land or something.
Oh, yeah. No, these
Okay.
are the Mormons that are out of Utah, but
Okay,
they
so
had a
their
settlement
settlements
in
then.
Vegas.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, I go, if these were more recent spirits, they would have been taught that, Rulon Jeffs was the president. They didn't know who the real president was.
So they
So,
thought the
and
president was
just
just their
knowing that
main guy.
knowledge, helped, because otherwise they were just thinking the spirit was stupid or they just weren't getting, any contact with the spirit. And I'm like, no, they're communicating.
They're being very specific, which is terrifying.
Yeah. And it made sense too, because I had seen during our investigation, two men, not shadow figures, but two apparitions, and they were dressed in your, traditional, Mormon attire among the polygamists, and then women in the full prairie dresses walking the halls of this museum with their bonnets on. And it was 2 men and 4 women, which totally fit with the, with that.
Yep. The polygamy. You don't even think about Mormons having, there being like their own little squad out there. I bet there's like a whole, like a doctoral field on Mormonism.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is.
As far as their, that's like a whole nother country that happened inside of our country, inside of half our country, that no one knows anything about other than BYU.
Right.
And
yeah, and I know I've done deep dives into the paranormal, or not into the paranormal, into polygamy, just because it was a topic that was interesting. And after getting those EVPs, knowing that we were investigating areas that had those settlements, I just dove deep into, their history, into, their beliefs and everything like that. And I know I still don't know everything there needs to know about it.
In my mind, I get them and Scientologists confused. I know they're the farthest thing from each other, but I think of one, I think of the other, and I'm like, that's not the same thing. No, not even close. Don't even get into L. Ron Hubbard today. That's
the thing is I've done. See, I've always loved religion, so I've done deep dives into that as well. And he was pretty smart with some of his theories up until he got to, I guess you would call it the OT8, where he started, with Xenu. But his actual practices, for like the beginning levels, it's trying to remember, because I got hijacked copies of it that ended up getting deleted off the internet and I can't find them anymore. But it was, you basically observed people around you, spend 10 minutes, find a woman and just watch how she dresses, watch how she walks, and then compare it to how you handle yourself. And it was more of like becoming self-aware. And it's like, oh, wow, that's a really good concept. But then you move further and then you see how the religions run. And it's like, it totally got derailed after like the first 2 lessons from what I've seen. And it's like, it's a shame. He had some good theories, but he didn't know how to make them work.
And South Park stepped in. Ruined it for everybody. This is what Mormons actually, or this is what Scientologists actually believe. Like the soul down in the volcano. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's taking who knows? But then wouldn't we be all shocked if it was true?
On that note, I watched that episode a bunch. And it's honestly, if you take it like one step back, it's no more obscure than some of the other ones, even my religion. As far as what the the baseline is. It being aliens that got shunned from an ancient civilization. Now, I don't know. It's L. Ron Hubbard, and it's like a cinematic universe,
right?
And that's what it is. But like the concept alone is like, it's not too far fetched.
No, and that's what I always say, because I practice paganism and like witchcraft and all of that, and it's all about knowing who you are, watching your surroundings, tapping into your surroundings. And that's what, the first couple lessons that I've read were like. And it's like, oh, wow, this makes, and here I am thinking while I'm reading this was many years ago. It's like, it's a shame they treat their members like crap, because this would be a cool thing to go and actually study.
It's probably based off that, though.
Yeah.
It's probably got the best parts of every little religion in there.
Right. Yeah. Well, he did practice with Aleister Crowley and black magic. He was here in Florida.
Who's the
So
second guy in charge of Mormonism? I keep saying Mormonism for Scientologists.
Scientology, David Miscavige.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mischievich. They did a whole thing on last podcast on the left of him on him.
Mm-hmm.
This shit was wild. Like I
Yeah.
was like, I didn't know this even existed.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Clearwater is like 45 minutes from here. So, I mean, when we go to Clearwater, we pass the Scientology building, and it's this massive, I mean, and it's an eerie feeling in itself just driving by that. But yeah, we get that news here quite often just because it's just down the road from here.
Yeah, you forget it's in Florida. I always think it's in California.
Nope. I mean, they have a base in California, but their flagship, or as they call it, their flagship is here in Florida.
I always think of Tom Cruise. I think that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his Oprah fit he threw. I just love it. Oprah. So when you go to a speaking of like the scientific method and things like that, when you go to do you do like personal investigations? Like get called out from accounts?
We used to. I had a really heartbreaking case a couple years ago before we left Vegas, and I kind of took a break from residential cases just because I had this 75-year-old woman on the phone crying that she wasn't crazy, but we had after several investigations, we had no proof whatsoever that there was any paranormal activity in her home. And it just
crazy.
It broke my heart. I'm like, I know, ma'am, you're not crazy. I'm so sorry, but we're getting nothing, And then we tried to come up with ways where she could try to stop the activity in her mind. Like we gave her methods to, make her more self-confident, or, we shared protection methods to help her, think that she's protecting herself. Then maybe that would stop the paranormal activity that she was experiencing. But we had nothing, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the residential cases, I stick to your standards, getting the EVPs, the video, the photographic, talking to the clients, doing all the research. And I save the actual scientific research for going to different locations. That's why I volunteered at the museum, because they knew I was into the paranormal, and it was when it was slow. They let me go into one of the rooms and, do an experiment or something like that if I wanted to, and test different theories out. But I would never put a client through that, because how do you explain to a client, hey, I got something new I want to try?
Yeah, hold still. I want to open up a portal in your guest room.
Right.
But yeah, I bet a museum it'd be a fun place to be, like that movie Night at the Museum, all that haunted stuff. I bet obviously not going to come alive like that, but I bet there's got to be at least one or two attachments.
Oh yeah. It's hard for me to go to museums or even antique shops, because I just pick up on all the energy around me, that it's like, we would go to, the one antique shop, and I'd be like to my mom, oh, I can't go over into that section because there's something over there. And she's like, okay.
There's something else. Did you go to the Bagans Museum?
No, I hadn't gone to that one.
I really want to go there. I bet it's eat up, because he gets the good stuff. He's like Indiana Jones.
He does, but I didn't like the fact that he adds jump scares to it. I didn't want a midget clown. Yeah, oh yeah, there's a midget clown hiding in the clown room that will jump out at you.
I don't need that.
Yeah, that's why I don't go.
No. See, it's good enough just walking around. I don't need a little person in a clown outfit. I need Wee Man.
I'd be afraid that I would kick him in the wrong place and hurt him if he were to jump out at me.
Yeah, I think it'd be just fun enough if they just had all the stuff in like a dimly lit room, and with what it was, you don't have to do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, you can just get near, just like that big statue in Exorcist, something like that. That's enough to be scary. That's scary enough. Just a room with it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I know going on ghost tours in Savannah and stuff, they didn't have to tell me a place was haunted. It just put me down there. It was dark and the air is heavy.
Yeah.
It smells old.
Yeah. My favorite ghost tours are the one that Mark Nesbitt does up in Gettysburg.
Have you been to Gettysburg? You been there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh yeah. Tons of times.
Have you? I hear that place is like almost 100%. 100% seeing something.
Oh yeah. That was, I want to say I was about 21 when we went and I had my first experience there. It was one of those, I was about ready to give up on the paranormal field, because back then you had to go to the library and it was getting tedious, and I was finishing up my photography degree, and we were at Devil's Den, and I saw a it was 4th of July weekend. So of course they had a reenactment going on, and a Confederate soldier came walking up towards me, and he tipped his hat and nodded his head and then continued walking around the boulders. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, stupid, you're a photography student, go chase him down and get a photo. This would be a cool place to get a photo. And as I turned around the rock, he was gone. He was nowhere to be seen. I didn't see him running. I checked all around. He wasn't ducked down into anything. And so I'm like, crap, I saw a ghost. So that got me deep diving into that again. And oh my God, everywhere we went from that point in time had an experience in Gettysburg. It was the only time that I've actually seen an orb with my eyes. And it was a bright red light glowing over a triangular field. So it's interesting. And then just recently they had the Library of Congress released a paper, and they actually revealed the photo of, remember Matthew Brady's photo of the Confederate sniper at Devil's Den that was shot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's who I saw, because they finally identified who that soldier was.
Really,
and
that's
they
the
had
one
a photo
you
of him.
saw?
Yeah, that's the guy I saw, because I can still see him in my head. Walking
That
by.
would have been a
tipping his
wild
hat.
picture if you would have took it. Well, I took his. Did it look like a person or like a mist? Like just like a dude?
Solid person. I thought it was a reenactor.
They said that the reason that we think ghosts look like that is because of the film in 1950. Because the way they had to do it. Like in reality, they look like people a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know some theories also are like why people see shadow people versus an actual apparition. It's because I know one theory is because your vibrations are on 2 different levels, but other people are now saying that it's because you don't know that person, so you don't know how to make them look in our minds, type of thing.
Interesting. I kind of thought it was like I always compared the technology that they used between aliens and cryptids and things like the Apple and Android,
right?
And because they all seem to use the same little methods, the messing with technology and messing with your mind, make you lose time. And I was like, maybe the shadow people have like the basic package. Maybe you get like the free with ads Spotify once you die, and so you can be a shadow. Anybody can be a shadow person. Like they have to get in-app purchases to be
kind of like the movie Upload or the TV series Upload.
Oh, that's such a good one. Oh God,
I know.
Is that coming back?
It's supposed to, but I haven't seen anything on it lately.
I feel like it ended well enough.
He came back
as a body.
His girlfriend showed up and said that she uploaded, and then they ended it.
Didn't the blonde-headed lady?
Yeah.
There was like another season after that.
Oh, was there?
I don't want to ruin it for you.
I'm behind. I need to go watch that.
Yeah, but I don't think this will ruin it for you. But at the end of that season, he comes back as his body comes back or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's like another whole 8 or 10 episodes after that.
Oh,
Kevin Stallings will probably chime in here in a second. He and I watched that together.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely have to go and do that.
What about Severance?
Which one was that one again?
It had Adam Scott in it, and they'd get into the elevator, go up to their office, and they wouldn't know who their lives were on the outside.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one yet. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Very uploady, very similar, but they would go. Christopher Watkins is in it.
Okay.
And one of the guys from Oh Brother Where Art Thou, not the short one, but the tall one, Pete. He's in it too. The guy from played the Jesus in Big Lebowski.
Right.
They get into an office building, go up, and it trips the thing in their mind. They don't know who they are on the outside, and so they just get royally fucked with the whole time, like just off corporate culture, torture, almost kind of weird, and they can't know. It's a good one. It's funny, but it's a thriller, kind of psychological at the same time.
Okay.
It's almost like the back rooms.
I'll have to check that one out too.
Kevin said Outer Range. Outer Range was good too. What was I going to? I was going to follow up on that one. When you go to a place, say if you went to Waverly Hills, what would be like your first step in establishing even though we know everything about it, and stay tuned to this channel for Halloween night. We're having a Waverly Hills special. Just for anyone debating whether to subscribe or not. But what would you do at a place like that? That was well known, but you knew it was a good place to cast your net to get some evidence.
Right. Well, I really wish, because we're actually supposed to go, and then COVID hit, which is kind of a bummer. But what I was planning on doing is, and I found out that they don't let you do it, is trying to explore alone. But they have the tour guides that follow you with you and everything. But what I would try to do is I would definitely talk to the staff and the tour guides to find out where people haven't gone. Because everywhere that people, let's say this one particular room has had 1 million people go through in the last 5 years. The spirits aren't going to talk in that room. They're not going to be happy. So what I would first do is try to map out places that aren't exhausted when it comes to investigations. And then I would do everything. Of course, I would set up my cameras. I set them up in all 4 points of the room, so that way you can capture everything and you can prove that nothing was staged or faked. You have the audio recorders going. And then I do a lot of non-tech tools to try to get them to communicate. And, so I'll have fidget spinners, light up fidget spinners all over the room to have them spin for me. The dowsing rods, the pendulums. And then the one thing that we're trying to work on now is to try to correlate almost like the composition of the air quality at the time of an incident versus a time of no incident. So we're trying to determine when paranormal activity happens, does the carbon or the nitrogen increase in the room?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So those are the things that we're trying to do. And that's more of our recent stuff that we do. But we always have, the cameras on, definitely trying to, document everything and anything, because, once you turn those cameras off, that's when you get the activity.
That's so frustrating. They know it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. The one time I was physically attacked, we had the cameras off because I was cleansing the house. And I was physically attacked, and we had no proof of it outside of them hearing me fall and the bruise on my shin.
That's so frustrating. I'm pretty sure the government has the ability to see that frequency in that realm to some degree. Right. Maybe one step above the SLS. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about the SLS. The more I hear, the more off the fence I get. But it seems a little too convenient every once in a while.
Yeah, I've been off the fence on that one since we tested one, and we disproved everything that showed up on it. So it was kind of like, it was fun to try.
Like the lamps and the light coming through the shades, anything. Like it's constantly searching. It's not meant to be something to find something hidden. But then you got Sin's story about it, and I'm like, well, crap. What if it's real? Have you heard it? I know you've heard it.
Yeah, I've heard her stories. Yeah,
about the SLS. My God.
Yeah. It made me rethink it, but I'm still. Whenever I see the SLS working, it's like the spirits are always humping something.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sure they're really not doing that to the bedpost.
I mean, what if they are? Maybe just the whole afterlife. Just a big party.
Maybe we have something to look forward to.
I mean, I'm not even going to say what Sin's SLS thing said. I'm just going to say, if you're watching and you haven't watched it, find my episode with Sin Schrader Hill and watch it, and you'll go to bed tonight with the lights on, like, oh shit, something watching. I think I actually cut that clip off and put it on there, and it got taken down. So I don't know if I'll have it anymore.
No, I know someone sent me a video, and they were at a cemetery. And they're like, look at all the spirits attached to all the tombstones. And every tombstone had a little mini gnome-sized spirit. And I'm like, oh, that's the corner of the tombstone when you look at where the spine is lined up at.
It's looking for angles, folks. It's an algorithm.
Yep.
It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kassan wants to know what you think about the Ghost Talker apps, and I'm pretty sure I know, but
I don't use apps at all, and I don't recommend people use them unless they're going to have fun. Because if you read the terms and conditions, they say for entertainment only is key there. But also your phone isn't designed to do that. And so it's, you can't rely on it. It might work, and also your phone gives off its own EMFs and a whole bunch of other stuff. So my phone gets turned off the minute we walk into a location. We don't even put them on airplane mode. We turn them off.
You said that airplane mode. What about the ones that attach, like you got your spirit boxes, but attached to your phone? I'm like, well, that's not helping a thing.
No,
You're holding an emitter. Like that's the
right.
one thing about a cell phone. It's not good. No, digital technology is not good for it at all. Let's just put it out there.
No, and it's one of those things where it's like people are like, I use my phone and I get EMF readings. It's like your phone's not designed to read EMF. How can an app, the app transform the device to be able to pick up on EMF?
I'm getting K2 readings on my iPhone 12.
However, I will say I have used and I have seen it done is they have the camera attachments for your phone for thermal imaging.
Yeah, that's
different. Still not 100% sure on that, but it does turn out some interesting readings. But I'd rather just use regular cameras.
Yeah, I think that could be more valid because it's just a field of vision,
right?
But same way your iPhone will see if a night vision camera is turned on, it'll see it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I learned that by accident. My first job out of college, I was working for the military training, and we had like a simulated tunnel complex, and it was all dark. Mm-hmm. And part of it was infrared cameras. I'm like, how come these work? And I had to work overnight a couple of times, so I was like taking infrared cameras out and messing with them. Look like I look like Adam and Jamie from MythBusters. Like I could just look at I'm like, can this see? Like every camera sees infrared, and that's and that kind of like that knowledge and that experimentation is it's a reason I'm always real quick to jump on people when they say that Bigfoot are never in game cameras. Like, well, no shit, anything can see infrared, and game cameras, that's all they do.
Right. Yep.
Kassoon said, "How about the Estes method?"
That is a method. If we're going to use a spirit box, we will use that method. Only because it takes out the I have like so many experiments that I'm working on. I can't keep up with them. I need to just sit down and focus on one of them. But it's from Ghost Physics. It's a really good book. If you guys haven't read it yet, I forgot who the author is, but it's on Amazon. And it talks about how we are actually the ones producing EVPs, not the spirits. So like if someone in your group says, what's your name? And all of a sudden you get a name on your digital voice recorder, it's someone in your group thinking of a name. And it doesn't mean that the spirit's not causing that person to think of that name, or if you're trying to come up with different things, someone in the group is trying to, you're almost answering in your head what you think the spirits would say. But our brains are so strong that we're imprinting on the digital voice recorders, where if we have the Estes method and you don't hear the question, that reduces the chance of you actually imprinting the answers.
Oh, that's what the sound blocking headphones and you're asked and you hear it.
Right.
And you get eye coverings too, isn't it?
You can. We've done it where my back is facing the crowd or the group. So we've done it that way. We've done it where we're in other rooms with walkie-talkies.
Okay. I knew what that is. I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Where somebody else is answering, listening to the spirit box from across the room.
Yeah.
And they say
it takes out the human element a bit more.
Oh.
But you and it works too because you still run the risk of the person imprinting it, but if they're in separate rooms, even if you do it that way, it even reduces it a little bit more because you're not in vicinity of the device.
Yeah, and it honestly doesn't make it any less fascinating to me if a human can make it work.
Right.
Because I really think that we're some kind of crazy God annex being, or what, I don't want to say we're gods. I think we're some kind of a really, really powerful being that we're being kept down for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do they say? We use 10% of our brain power?
Yeah, I think that's been debunked, but I think that we're much more powerful.
No, I still think that we use that unless we know how to use it.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be more to it because because remote viewing is real. I mean, that shit's real. That's one of the things I found out on here. I talked to one of the men that stare at goats, and Paul H. Smith from out there at Utah or Idaho, one of them. But he told me about all the ones the stuff that accurately was depicted during the Cold War. I'm like, how does that even happen? Like prototypes no one's even heard of before that weren't structurally sound. I mean, possible. and he remote viewed the Russian ship that had that on there. You can't just make that up.
I know. It's interesting, and I think we could do so much more if we just put our minds to it. And that's the problem, is we're so, I don't want to say dumbed down. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean? We're so numb to what's around us.
Vibrations are low.
Yep. We just go with the flow, and you know, that's why, I mean, I'm guilty. I'm better at teaching than doing. And I always tell people, if you want to raise your vibrations, just get out there and dance. You know, do something that makes you happy, do something that makes you laugh. And as long as you keep doing that, you'll notice a change in your overall attitude and the people you attract to you. And it's amazing what we can do with just simple things.
Have you did a lot of research into like the Tartarian kind of thing before the old World's Fairs, old technology, the Tesla, the Tesla.
Tesla, I love Tesla. He's my hero. His scientific. He was one who didn't care what people thought of him, and that's what needs to be done with scientists. Just do you.
He got drugged for it too, for being right. That's how you know he was correct,
right?
And was on to something. I think that's part of what I was just talking about. It was the Tesla, because everybody talked about the wireless electricity, and the moving sidewalks. I'm like, where did that go? Those didn't get invented again for like 75 years after that.
Yeah. Someone didn't want him to any of the scientists back then. You know,
anybody that invents a car that runs on water, rest in peace. You're out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's so many interesting things out there that you get glimpses of, but you never hear about again.
What about H3 on the moon? I mean, that's free. The moon's crater could power a city for 10,000 years. That element, and all of a sudden we can't go back.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's also partly because, on Earth, we can't get along across the world.
Yep. Which is by design, because I think if humans were left to their own devices, they probably would get along. If everybody just hung out.
Yeah.
Yep. Always has to be the elite. Well, do you have any places that you go, like your favorite, like a home base haunting around your area? I know lots of people in the paranormal groups have them.
Right. I know when we were in Nevada, we had the one museum I volunteered at, McCaw School of Mines, and then the other museum, which wished to remain unknown. So we had to sign a whole bunch of non-disclosures for that. Those were my two places that I went to quite often. Here in Florida, I would say John's Pass. Okay. It's out by Madeira Beach. That's an old pirate fishing community. And it is, I mean, haunted like crazy. They even have, there was an old dolphin exhibit across the bay from the pier, and people hear dolphins, and the thing shut down. It's walled up, and there's even no water in the tanks anymore, but 2 dolphins did die there, which is why it shut down. And people will still hear the dolphins coming from within that building.
Imagine a ghost dolphin.
Yeah.
Also, a museum called "I Wish to Remain Unknown" would be a good museum.
I know.
I would definitely go to that. That'd be kind of like that old show Oddities.
Yep.
Well, all right, you've been a phenomenal sport entertaining me here on my Sunday, and I'll let you get back to the Florida sunshine.
Oh yeah, it's dark already.
2 hours. pretty much on the same longitudinal line, I think.
Yep.
I'm just north of the Panhandle, so
okay.
They can find you at as it goes, like 300 to 400 miles. Exploration. Did I spell that wrong? Holy Jesus!
No, it's Exploration.
Okay, I didn't spell that wrong. I was tripping. Like I lifted. I did spell it wrong. I said exploration. Exploration paranormal.com. I don't know where it's going to take you if you go what I have there. Don't click it. I'm changing it. No one click anything. Calm down. And Heather Leigh, PhD.com. Leigh is in the fancy spelling of Leigh. L-E. But yeah, you got anything coming up? Anything you want? Any special places they can find you besides those places that are in the description?
At this time, no. I do have some things that we're in the works of for next year, so hopefully I can start sharing that out once I get confirmation for everything. But I don't have a date yet for it, but in the spring, my 4th book will be coming out, and that is Haunted Florida Ghost Towns. So that one will be coming out, as well as I have 2 more books coming out in the summer and the fall of next year. And my Haunted Florida Lighthouses was just picked up and signed to be turned into a children's book, of all things.
That's not as far-fetched as you would think. We just went to the Outer Banks over Memorial Day weekend, and my 3-year-old is obsessed with lighthouses now.
Okay.
I think they're right along the lines of trains and dinosaurs. I think they fit that same bill. I don't know what it is. I haven't studied it, but we have our powder room bathroom, like a half bath that's just got the toilet and the sink. We've got some pictures we had doctored up from the lighthouses out there, called the lighthouse bathroom. She loves it. That's the body. She could barely talk when we went there. She can name you those lighthouses. Yeah. So that's not far-fetched. Okay. I think they're up there with trains and dinosaurs. I haven't studied it much further, but she got really obsessed with them.
When my publisher called me and told me that they wanted to put it into a children's book, I'm like, okay. I'm like, do I have to write it? They're like, no. We have a writer that does it for you. I'm like, then go ahead.
As the haunted lighthouse keeper walked the stairs. Exactly. The headless lighthouse keeper. All right. Thanks for being on again. I'll let you get back. Thanks everyone for watching. Please subscribe. Please go to put my freaking come on. Where you at? This is production people. Store at friggincoffee.com. It's good coffee. They'll ship it to you quick. I mean, way too quick for what it is. See, looks like an 80s movie. Yeah. Anywho, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Heather Leigh for coming on amazingly.
Thank you.
And had an amazing time. And wish you the best of luck in the future. If you need anything from me, guest host or contact or anything, just give me a holler.
Okay, sounds good. I definitely
will. One day my name will be relevant, so it'll be cool. Like I know that guy.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks everybody. Signing off.
Bye.